please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, in case of a fire, fire evacuation, you can exit the council chambers through the doors behind us or to my left, your right. Go down the stairs and walk a safe distance from the building. Mr. Secretary, roll call, please.
Yes, Madam Chair. Terrence Lynch,
Here.
Linda DeGray,
Here.
John Petronella is here, Frank Alimo,
Here.
Joseph Muley,
Here.
Kenneth Helinski,
Here.
Vinnie Grillo,
Here.
Christian D'Antonio,
Here.
Walter Crizel,
Here.
and Rob Anderson.
Here.
Okay, I will entertain a motion for the approval of the minutes for September 25th.
So moved.
Madam Chair, point of order.
Yes.
I did review the minutes and watched the entire last meeting of the 25th, so I will be participating
Okay,
tonight.
Second.
second. Any corrections, changes, additions? All in favor? Aye?
Aye.
Okay. There was a town attorney's report, which, yeah, it was online.
Move to accept the town attorney's report.
We don't have to
Oh,
accept
okay.
that. It seems like things have been moved around long on some of this, so kind of good to see. Nothing from the zoning enforcement officer. At this time in the meeting, I'm opening up to public participation for anyone in the audience to speak on anything that is not on the agenda. Seeing we have one person, name and address, please.
I need a second to catch my breath. Mary Ann Turner, 7 Meadow Road. I'm not like the chairman who does millions of miles of walking every day. The reason I'm here is for something that hasn't even happened yet. And maybe it won't. That's all I can ask. Over on Route 5, Enfield Street, near the parking St. Pat's Cemetery, if any of you have been looking, they're cutting all the trees down. And the owner of that property has every right. Not that you'd like that. But what my concern is that in 2011, Love's Truck Stop came before this board and wanted to put in a truck stop. And I'm here tonight to make sure that you keep that in mind, that the people of Enfield, at least this people, and I'm hoping the folks that I'm talking to tonight, will come in front of you and say, we do not want a truck stop in Enfield. Maybe not there, maybe someplace else, maybe at exit 46 would be nice. But I'm asking you that if it comes in front of you, you take a deep breath that I can't do, and remember that truck stop in that spot is not a good idea. We've already came before you once before and asked you to vote against it, or at least not do the zone change. And I think that's why I'm here in front of you tonight, to get ahead of any potential zone change so that you know about it, that you think about it, and that you don't act too quickly. Okay? And take it all into consideration. So to the public, I say, pay attention. And if you can, come in front of this board and talk to them, because it's not just me. Thank you, commissioners.
Anyone else in the audience? Sir?
I just have a quick question. So you said to talk about anything that's not on the agenda. Will there be time for public comment about the Enfield Square project?
No, we're not getting that's not that project has been tabled. That public hearing has been tabled until our hopefully next meeting. But they're just doing a presentation tonight. Okay.
Madam Chair, if we could just say that the
the special permit public hearing that's upcoming, that's been tabled.
Right.
That will be open.
Coming on the agenda, so.
And then the public can
and
speak
yes,
at that meeting.
Yes, that's coming on the agenda. I haven't gotten there yet.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay. Bond releases, we don't have any. We do have public hearing 3134 MA, 90 Elm Street, which has been tabled, so we don't need to open it at this time. But when we do open it, public is more than welcome to come and participate during the discussion. We don't have any old business. Our new business is a pre-application meeting for proposed special development district rezone per section 5.60.3 for 90 Elm Street, AKA Enfield Square Mall. The applicant's here. Hi. Name and address for the record, please.
Mitch Holen, 21160 C Street, Elkhorn, Nebraska, 68022.
Okay.
And Dean Apostolaris with Kimley Horn. Address is 1 North Lexington Avenue, Suite 505, White Plains, New York.
Evan Seaman, Robinson and Cole, 1 State Street, Hartford.
Okay, gentlemen, I am going to clear something up, seeing that I was told by the applicant that I put words in their mouth. And on page 9 of your narrative, I'm going to read it for the record. Up to 703 units of multifamily housing development. That's all I'm going to say about it. So go ahead, gentlemen, your presentation. We're glad to hear it. Thank you.
I wanted to start by apologizing. I think in that last meeting, I'll be honest, this is partially a joke, just to let you know we are hopefully sweet on you, but I don't usually stay up past 10. So
Neither do I.
No.
It's okay. I think we were all a little testy at that point.
I think so, but I want you to know that's not characteristic of who we are. So we do have a project that's been in the work for about 2 years. We spent a lot of time with staff. Staff has been super helpful. There's 2 of them here tonight, one in particular, Aaron Markovich, who has been phenomenal to work with on this project. But I do want to let you know we're excited to be at this point. And I think more than anything, what we want to do tonight is have it be pretty informal and more so just be a dialogue of, 1, what we're actually requesting, 2, kind of cast the vision for that, and then 3, kind of answer any questions on it. So if it's okay, we have Dean here on the engineering side, and then we also have Evan on the legal side. So these guys can answer any technical questions. We'll get there. But I think if it's okay with you guys, what would be more helpful is maybe to talk about the site plan and more so the parameters that we're trying to establish and what that's ultimately going to enable us to do.
We welcome that.
I think that'd be great. Are we able to skip to the site plan that we?
Yeah, let me get here.
Okay.
It's just the master plan.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah. Okay. So what we're looking at right now is the master plan for what we're calling Infield Marketplace. And I'll fully acknowledge this is not a visually exciting site plan. But the stage that we're at right now is our SDD rezone submittal. So the point that I want to make is what we're ultimately asking for approval on, not tonight, but very soon, will be the SDD rezone, which is taking it from, what's the existing zone again, D? BR into this SDD overlay. And ultimately, the big piece of what we're looking for tonight is to set these buildable envelopes, right? That's one of the primary frameworks that we're looking for. So I want to make it super clear. These buildings that you're seeing right here, these are not the actual buildings that we're going to construct. These are more so the blocks within those that will ultimately bring buildings forth within. So the multifamily, by example, are we going to build buildings that look like that? Absolutely not. We probably wouldn't have any residents that would want to live in those. But those are the footprints within. Ultimately, we would bring forth a building that would fit within. Same with Lot 10. That's kind of just a large rectangular building. That could end up being small shop space. It could end up being 5 tenants. It could end up being 1 tenant. right? But
Chair,
that's
if I
the
may,
buildable envelope.
That's a question. Can I just ask one
Yeah.
question while you're there? So I was on planning and zoning when we combined everything into one lot. The previous owners asked us to do that, we did. So those descriptions you just pointed out, do those match the lot numbers that are going to be coming forward later?
Yes.
Because it's all getting split up now, right? Opposite of what we did before, we're going to undo.
They've already rezoned, they've already subdivided into 13 lots.
We did
Now-
that.
Right.
Well, you were on too.
And then.
Now we're gonna do
This
this.
is going to subdivide it. He's
Back.
going to merge it and then subdivide it again into 11.
That's what my question was.
Yes.
It's going to match,
Dean can speak to this, but ultimately, so
I
Namdar,
was here for the
Yes.
initial part.
can't believe you let Namdar do that. I'm kidding. So Namdar originally acquired all of the parcels within Enfield Square, with the exception of 2 of them. There was 2 that were previously subdivided that they did not acquire. Namdar since subdivided it, and now they've sold off all the pieces except what we're acquiring. What we're acquiring is colorized on this plan today. And this is actually, how many different parcels is it today?
It's 7.
It's 7 different parcels. They're irregular. I don't know if we have is there a depiction of what these look like?
Yeah, if you maybe go.
There you go. This will actually show it. So today, if you look at what's shown in red,
Madam Chair, just so we can get back to today. So when Nandar did that, they filed, I think it's called a conveyance, right? So they made it like a condo they made it like a condo development.
It's still a condo.
Is that conveyance still with it now?
no, those have been sold. So everything in pink here that you see kind of highlighted on these lots, that's been sold off.
So the conveyance that was filed when Nandar initially divided it up is no longer in effect?
The conveyance.
When you say
Well,
conveyance.
it was like a condo. They were going to maintain the infrastructure.
Covenants.
I'm sorry, covenants.
Oh, so that's,
Sorry.
yeah, that's
still got jet lag.
absolutely a point that we want to talk about tonight, is
Okay.
that's one of the challenges with these mall projects is all of the underlying agreements. So right now, by example, the property that we're acquiring, it's subject to a set of declarations. And then on top of that, there's about 6 private agreements that have been entered into with all of these various lots that Namdar has sold off. That says what you can and can't do with the property that we're trying to redevelop. That's one of the hard pieces is this is not a blank slate, right? There's a set of covenants, there's a set of buildable areas. Some of those we're trying to amend.
Well, that's why I want to get back to the beginning so I can get this all straight in my mind.
Yep.
Because that's a big part.
It's a huge part, right? And it's one of the challenges of why there's so many malls. This will be our 6th mall that we've acquired from Namdar. I mean, we look at hundreds of these. It's rare where you can actually redevelop them because so many of the parties that are subject to these underlying agreements just don't agree, right? One of those is the existing anchor retailer that's on the north end of the site. They have a lot of control over what does and doesn't happen within the area that we're acquiring in terms of the buildable area, relocating any access drives, the uses that go on these lots. We have to get them on board with that.
You're talking about Target.
The anchor retailer, yeah. So that is challenging, right? We've got them to a place where what we're presenting today is agreeable to them, but that is one of the key pieces that has been in the works over the last 2 years. There's other anchors that are still here. Sears, by example, right? They're not open. They're paying dead rent. The reason they're doing that is because they control the entire mall, right? Through their existing lease. So that's another hurdle that we had to work through. But yeah, right now there's about 15 different parties that we've had to get on board and kind of to this point where we can ultimately, demolish them all, put in new infrastructure, and then redevelop it.
Thank you for the update to get us up to speed on those important components of this whole thing.
Yeah, if they weren't around, this would
Your
have
Shipman and Goodwin guy he's got all that under control, I guess, over there, but. Robinson and Cole, uh-oh.
actually have Shipman Goodwin involved.
I was so used to Saran Murray for all those years, I mixed you up.
My wife used to work at Shipman Goodwin.
Oh, okay.
So,
Thank you.
No, so today I did bring a laser pointer, which I'll leave this here. I
Yay.
think we talked
Donating
about
it to the
having-
town?
Exactly.
Thank you.
But is it okay if I point up there, kind of?
I don't know if that can be, I don't know.
Oh,
Try it.
Oh,
it doesn't work.
No, it doesn't work on,
kicks it back. No, it's on the wall. It's hitting the wall.
it's hitting the wall, but it's, the light's
back.
being reflected back.
Oh, it doesn't work on.
Wow.
Sorry. You tried.
You're just gonna have to take my word for where things
Okay.
are. But today, if you can kind of visualize it, and I'll zoom in on some of these pieces. So today on lot 9, if you kind of stretched across right there, that's that Sears out parcel, right, where they have their old auto center. That's where that's positioned today. The old Sears box runs out till about here. And then the remaining mall, the J.C. Penney, I think was maybe on the south end, splits off to about here. And then the other box spits out to about here. So one piece of this that we are doing is demolishing the entire mall, demolishing the entire parking lot. A lot of the common infrastructure is all coming out, which is expensive, right? And then we're going to put all new kind of common core infrastructure in. Another piece that I did want to just make abundantly clear, which I think we did a poor job of narrating this, we are going to be the master developer of this project. And we've done this on 6 other projects. I did bring that tonight. I'm happy to provide this material for you guys to look at. But this is not the first time that we've successfully done this. But ultimately what we are going to do is acquire them all, demolish it. We are going to subdivide it so that we have these various lots. And then ultimately we will go vertical on those various components with specific users. Now, do we have every single user in this identified? No, we don't. Part of the hurdle is we've got to get all the entitlements in place. We've actually got to get them all demolished. And then we'll work with those specific users to actually implement. A lot of them, kind of like last week, right, with, this is a poor example, but the car wash, right? They've got a specific prototype. A lot of these users on the outlaw, especially national users, have a specific prototype that they'll ultimately build. We're making sure that fits within kind of these buildable envelopes that we've set out today. So on the far right side, along Freshwater Boulevard, in kind of red.
Can I stop you for a second on that again?
Yeah,
Okay.
please.
Because you said about the infrastructure. So you're calling them lots, so we're going to call them lots. So when you do the infrastructure initially,
Yep.
are you going to go like to each one of these lots and stub up the sewer, the water, the gas to each, like make it like a subdivision buildable
Correct.
lots?
Yes. So
like a pad.
it's a great question. Yes.
So explain that piece, because
Yep.
that's important.
So we're putting
Because all
in-
that stuff in there is junk. It's been there since the 70s. It's got to go.
It's all coming out.
Yeah.
That's been the dance that we've gone through with a lot of the existing users is they're saying, hey, it's great you're tearing down the mall. I've got an existing business. I'll use Cane's, by example, and they haven't been difficult. But we've got an existing business. It's doing well. We don't want you to come in here and tear out all of our roads. How are our customers supposed to get here? So we have come up with a phasing plan to give all of the existing users access. But what you're seeing colorized here, that splits all these lots.
Yep.
If you just see my mouse.
Yep.
So this piece here that runs all the way around, kind of that common ring road.
Yep.
That's going to get torn out, and then we're going to put a new common ring road in. And then we're also going to put a new common road through the middle of the site here that runs through, and then the new connection to Freshwater. So we're still working on this right in, right out, obtaining that approval. I hope we're going to be able to get that, but that would be part of it. So the common infrastructure is every single lot would have access. All the new utilities would go in, and these would be pad-ready lots. So they can
Pad-ready,
step into
okay.
the
That's
utilities
a-
and then go vertical from there.
Right. Pad-ready lots. Okay. That's good. Yep. Thank you. It's starting to come together.
Right. I think the other piece that we're working on that's just kind of been a challenge in general is the amount of floodplain and wetlands that we have to deal with on the site. About the southern half, and I think that's on a depiction somewhere here, is within that. But I do think that we've come up with a configuration that's going to allow us to kind of move that around. One of the reasons why we're asking for such a large buildable footprint on the multifamily is however we end up shaping kind of this anchor box retail is going to dictate where these ultimate buildings are going to go, depending on how we rework the floodplain on that south side. So I think we did include a couple plans of, hey, this is what the multifamily could look like based on other projects that we've built that would fit within these buildable envelopes. But just be totally candid, we have not kicked off design on the multifamily. We're not going to kick off that level of design too until we're fully through entitlements and know that we can actually go build something like that. But Mr. Cray is absolutely right. I did misspeak during this last meeting where I think we clearly stated in this that we had up to 703, 702 units. We shouldn't have done that.
104.
Yep, 704. We have no intention of building that level of units within this project. It'll be in the 400 range. It'll be consistent with our CIF application. Part of what we were ultimately shooting for is we did want to get a unit density per acre that would allow us to get a certain amount of units within a buildable footprint. But we are going to make it really clear within this project that we will not do, I think the number that we're going to stick to is probably 465 units.
So let me ask you a question based on that. So you've negotiated into agreements with state and local officials.
Correct.
Did those agreements pertain, in your application to those agreements, did it talk about just the 400?
So it didn't limit 465 units, but ultimately a big piece of this that is critical, right, is the CIF financing and our brownfield financing. In both those applications, we had 465 units. That's a key component of the
That
project.
were in the actual applications?
Yes, that we represented to the state.
Right.
So that is ultimately, we want to, just to be frank.
Well, that's a good point.
We want to do what we told the state we were
Right.
going to do.
That's where I'm going with this.
So that is a key piece, but I did want to make it clear, and we will update, when we actually come for approval, that we're not going to build 700 apartment units within the site. Ultimately, I'm going to self-develop that. I need to make sure these units lease. We're going to be signed on to the debt. I just continue want to beat that drum of we're not going to build 700 units. And I apologize that we misspoke because I specifically pointed my finger at you. My mom actually told me, she was watching the meeting, said, you need to apologize to that woman. So
All right.
It was midnight.
I am sorry. It was late, but yeah, that was our mistake, and we will clarify that. I think that's ultimately why we do these pre-app meetings, is to get through those.
We have a,
Yeah, pertaining to that, I did look at it between the last meeting and now. And so there's about 12 acres, looks like.
Yep.
That you would be developing for the apartments.
Yes.
That's that corner up on the left there.
Yep.
And so with the 12 acres and, I don't know, 3 point some odd dwelling units per acre, I came up with a number of 475. So it's close to your
Yep.
465. So that's the number you're sticking with,
That's the number we're going
to
to stick with.
clarify.
Yep.
Okay, so it's not 704, which actually was in the original
was.
statement.
704, 705, whatever.
Well, it says 704. I mean, I read it.
Typo.
Right. It was a mistake.
Okay, close enough. Okay, I just wanted to make that clear. The other question I had was, what happened to the hotels?
So
thank you.
that's another great question. We did do a market study. We self-develop, hospitality. That's one of the various verticals that we're in. We did a market study. It's called a STAR report, which I'd be happy to share with staff and PZC if you wanted to see it. And it did not come back favorable at all for new demand for housing or for a hotel. So part of this is, we talked with, Aaron on this as well. What I'm ultimately relying on as a key piece of our funding is going to be the tax increment that we're creating. The tax increment being, the increased value. We do have an incentive agreement with the city. If we ultimately don't go build anything in here, that's going to be a problem because we're relying on those property taxes, a portion of them, to get reimbursed for the infrastructure we're putting in. So just as we've gotten deeper into this project, I want to make sure that we're slating uses that we're actually going to be able to do. So could there end up being a hotel up there? Maybe. I mean, if a hotel developer comes to us and says, "Hey, we want to do a hotel within this project," that's absolutely something we'll look at. But candidly, the demand was really weak.
Yeah, I just noticed that they were gone, so, between the last time and this time, so.
Yep.
All right, so I think that's all I had on that
It
particular.
would almost seem like the market for a hotel there would be something
Excuse
that's
me,
overnight.
Frank, can you let other
Oh,
people?
yeah, absolutely. I thought we were having an open discussion.
We are, but other people
Go
may
ahead.
have questions. Thank you.
Anybody have a question?
Anybody else? Go ahead.
Sure, yeah, I'll go. Yeah, I mean, I have a few things. One I'll just talk about kind of like high-level design. I hope you guys are familiar with the CROG, the Capital Region Council of Governments, big survey they did, a townwide survey, getting the input of residents as far as it was specifically a visual preference survey, and the top result there. Of course, I understand, it's just preference of what people like to see, but there's an ideal of the majority came out with like an ideal of like an outdoor mall area. You might not be familiar with it, but folks around here may be more familiar with like an Evergreen Walk, which is a couple towns over in South Windsor, which is like a commercially like almost fake quasi town center kind of development, highly commercial. They do have residential. It is separate. But can you walk me through, what are you guys thinking about that? Because this is pretty typical seeming strip mall, separate, pretty typical suburban design, which to be fair is not dissimilar from everything that's around here. So if you say, hey, we're matching the vibes of everything around here, I can't blame you, but it's not really bringing us something particularly new, and it's not matching that aesthetic. So you want to share some thoughts on that subject?
I had a feeling you would ask about some trees, Christian, but yeah, I mean, two pieces of that. One, we want to do something that's market driven, right? That's a key piece of this actually being feasible. On the same end, I think this is going to be an extremely walkable and visually pleasing development. And I think the best way to answer that too would just be show you other developments that we've done, right? So you can kind of get a feel for that. So I'll make sure to provide that, to staff so they can pass along to you. But this is going to be heavily landscaped. It's going to be heavily amenitized. It's going to be very pedestrian friendly. I mean, ultimately, where we're kind of digging in on these projects is the housing. That's a piece that we're going to own, we're going to build ourselves, and we're going to hold on to. Every apartment community that we've developed, we've held on to and maintained ownership of. Where we see a lot of success in those is it's a, live, work, play community where, you're steps away from being able to go get your groceries, go to a bar, go to a restaurant, and have all those amenities kind of within that project, and also be able to step out and feel comfortable. So that's a major piece of, I think, what we're going to ultimately do here in the site planning. You might not see it. I mean, I do want to say there's a lot of green space shown on this plan. It's a huge plan, so you can kind of lose sight of that. But this is going to be heavily amenitized, and we want it to be really appealing to be in there. So right now, again, this is just the SDD, right? We're just kind of getting these buildable footprints and uses. It's kind of the first step in the process, but you got to remember each one of these is going to come back through with a site-specific site plan for approval. And I think that's where you're really going to see, okay, here's the walkability of it, right? Here's the landscaping. Here's how it kind of all fits together. But yeah, I mean, to answer your question twofold, Christian, it's going to be pad sites, right? These are going to be multi-tenant buildings. They're going to be restaurants. They're going to be small shop spaces. It's going to be very walkable between them, but it's going to be, it's going to look nice. That's a big piece of this.
So I guess just to sum it up, it's what you're describing. Basically, it's market driven. So there's more a market for a development of this type than, let's say an outdoor mall development. Is that?
Well,
more or less
I think
what
that
you're
goes back to the question that Frank asked too. Is you got to remember the set of covenants that we're agreeing to, and some of these anchor. I'm not going to name them specifically, but some of the parties, that have the overarching, say in what we are and are not going to do here. They want to be a part of a, regional retail destination, right? That's what they want. So they're pretty sensitive to that. And I think that it's twofold, right? It's market driven, but we kind of got mom and dad over our back saying, yes, we will support this, and no, we won't. Does that make sense?
Makes sense. Yeah, I appreciate you sharing some background.
John, did you have something?
I guess, I a few comments. The way this is laid out, I'm not even sure if this meets what we feel is an SDD. I mean, to me, this looks like you've drawn a line down the middle, and you're taking a BR zone, and you're just asking for a re-subdivision, and everything on the west zone it residential, everything on the right is gonna maintain business regional, and that's it. You're tearing down everything. You're not really repurposing any existing structures. I'm not really seeing a true mixed-use type of development. It's two separate developments. You got residential and you got business regional. Nothing's integrated. Where the hotels gets more into a mixed use, and the hotels to me promote more dining restaurants rather than fast food restaurants. It looks like the way this is laid out, it's going to promote more fast food type of restaurants. I don't see anything dedicated or for like office space or medical office space or anything of that sort. So I'm trying to get a grasp as to how this is truly a mixed-use type of thing. It looks like it's gonna be all retail on one side and residential on the other side. And I think if it's pretty much approved the way it is, I mean, your intent is just to let the market dictate whatever's gonna go in there. So we got these lots that zone like this, and whatever comes in, comes in. And you're not really looking to dedicate any lots for commercial use, for offices or anything of that sort. It looks like it's just gonna be a retail shopping district. So I was a little bit disappointed with that. What you had before, I saw it as a little bit more mixed use with the hotels. I think you had 2 hotels, and I think that there's a couple of buildings that were identified that we could say that were probably more dedicated. They look more like the size of they were office buildings, I think, but, you know, to Commissioner D'Antonio's point, yeah, the outdoor type of shopping mall or area goes well. You know, the community would really certainly love to feed off of that, where people can walk outside to different shops, restaurants, dining out and so forth. Would also be nice, but it'd be more a draw for the community, which is, you know, what we're hearing is what the community would really like to see. And other entities for the community, you know, whether it's, you know, gyms for, that the residents use, or you know, more dedicated space for outdoor activities, whether it's some tennis courts or pickleball courts or anything like that, just something more integrated to make it a more community type of property. So, you know, again, I thought the original plan was a lot better. I see this right now as a missed opportunity to really do something nice and valuable. And again, I was just a little bit disappointed as to what this is showing now and how it really falls into what I feel it is an SDD. So, that's it for me.
Okay.
Yeah, and just to add to what Christian and John had said here, basically, the Christian mentioned the CROG traffic impact study and the marking analysis. Are you familiar with that? Have you seen that at all?
Yeah, we're familiar.
Okay,
with that.
so just to read a couple of things, a mix of housing options on the site would make most sense, okay, which is okay. The mall site could accommodate a significant number of market rate apartments. Housing potential could be 400 apartments, maybe some condos as well, okay? But it also said the preference surveys and market analysis for the Enfield Mall indicated that responders were in favor of a live work-play environment, an outdoor-style mall, townhomes and mixed use, and a max height of buildings at 3 stories. Okay, that's their feelings, okay? Also, in general, there was a strong market and desire for new hospitality and entertainment centers such as breweries, movie and/or concert venues, and that type of thing, or indoor golf for sport or sports events type of places. So I think what we're talking about here is trying to get a little more variety of things for people to do in town. Like the movie theater's closed. It'd be nice to have movie theaters in town.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to go to Springfield now. Yeah. And so, and also, John mentioned the pickleball, whatever, that kind of thing. So, we'd like to see some entertainment venues, and we'd also like to see some open space allocated, maybe some playgrounds, something like that. I know we talked about a park last time, which you said you can't afford a park, but yeah, I mean, we're not looking for a huge park.
No.
I think we're looking for open space, amenity type areas that would make it more appealing as part of this. But anyway, that's what the whole study kind
I
of
think where you guys are going with this is what we're going to do, though.
Okay.
right? I do want to kind of nail that home is, one, we do have an overarching declaration, right? But that absolutely is going to allow us to do first-class uses. That's all you're going to see in here, and we're going to be having our hands tied, which is good. That's what you want. We're not doing car washes in here. We're not doing gas stations in here. We're not doing vape shops in here. We're taking away kind of the ability to do all of those and just being first-class uses. But John, to your point, under the permitted commercial uses, we've got restaurants, drive-through and without, sit-down restaurants with outdoor seating, single-tenant, multi-tenant buildings for retail, medical office, health clubs, personal services, financial institutions, package store, grocery. Those are all components that we're going to bring within here, right? That I think you're going to see within those buildings, right? So this is just the buildable footprints, but I think you're absolutely going to see those within it. Other than the change of the hotels, which again, we're kind of driving that based off the market demand. I think you're going to see those things.
If I may, and I understand that that's what can go there,
Yeah.
but I believe what's going to happen is that the market is going to dictate what goes in there. You had said earlier that you're going to control this.
Mm-hmm.
That's not controlling it, okay? You're not dedicating lot number 7 and lot number 3 for office or commercial or anything but retail.
Mm-hmm.
So, if all retail users come in, it's going to be all retail.
Yep.
And that's how I see this going, is pretty much all retail for those lots. And I could be wrong, but you're not offering anything to like on the previous plan, we had 2 hotel sites, so we knew that hotels were going to go there, nothing else.
Right.
Okay. Over here, we're looking at those lots. What are there? 9 lots over there. Probably going to end up being mostly all retail, but nothing real truly mixed. Like commercial office space would be nice. That would bring in jobs, good, much better jobs into the area and so forth. So that was my fear. You're going to let the market dictate what goes in there, and you're not going to really control it. It's just whatever the zoning says that can go in there will go in there, and I just think it's going to be attracted to more retail use. But again, I could be wrong, but
Right.
I felt that you'd come in with a plan where it would be more controlled and more mixed, and like these are dedicated for offices,
Yeah.
these are dedicated for hotels, or whatever it may be. So, thank you.
Terrence?
Yeah, just one quick question, because I'm listening to John and Ken and Christian, and I as well think that most of these lots 1 through 9 would wind up to be retail. So maybe you could clear some of that up by saying you've developed some of these malls before, and in particular Nadmar properties before. How much commercial rather than retail would you expect to be in this side of your mall or your side of the marketplace?
It's a fair question.
Oh, I hope so.
Yeah. Do I think?
Sometimes I'm not too fair, but this time I try to be.
I thought you were a little unfair last time, but this is
Well, I don't think so at that time of night with 703 or 4 apartments. And,
That's right.
okay,
right.
so
That's fair.
now
Now that
do we
we've
have the
leveled,
answer to
all
what
right.
we're talking about tonight.
Do I think that we're going to see, a 10,000 square foot office user go in there? No, I don't. That's also against the covenants. But do I think that you might see, a 2,500 square foot, commercial user? I'm just throwing examples like an Ed Jones or a, insurance agency or something like that. Yeah, I do. But you got to remember, this is your primary retail hub, right, in corridor. This is where you're going to get your prime retail users if they're going to come to Enfield. I think that's a key piece. So predominantly, that's going to be what it is, retail, restaurant, commercial users being like light office and then some medical in there, right? But are you going to see, 15,000, 20,000 square foot, office users? Unlikely. I mean, you're not seeing that really anywhere right now in the country. But I think ultimately what you are probably going to see, because I don't want you to feel like this is a bait and switch, right, is, retail, and restaurant users. Absolutely. That's what should go here, right? If you guys were laying out your comp plan, that's probably what your comp plan would say. But I think you will have a mix of, some smaller commercial users that will go into this site. You'll have banks, you'll have credit unions, folks like that you commonly see within these types of developments. Absolutely. And I'm not as skeptical, John, as you of maybe getting some sit-down restaurants, because I'm fairly certain you're going to get some sit-down restaurants within these, within these pad sites. But I want to be careful that, to your point, it is market-driven. They're going to be, I want to reassure you, it's going to be Class A users that come in here. But yeah, I guess that would be my honest response to you, right, of what I think.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, Vinny?
Thank you.
I'm sorry, I know you already said this one. How many have you done of these already, like 6 or 7 you said? I'm sorry.
For mall redevelopments in
Yes, for the
particular,
mall,
this will
like
be our,
the one we have right here,
this will be our 6th.
6.
Yep.
Okay. Are they all familiar, basically the same setup, the same way, each one? I'm not saying, but kind of like what you want to do here.
In
Do you
general,
have anything, or basically?
what's kind of funny about these malls, right, is all of them were constructed, all of them are defunct by and large, right? It doesn't matter where you go. I think I was just looking up this morning. I think there's 2,500 malls in the United States right now.
Yeah.
That's shrunk down to about 900 within the last 5 years.
Yeah,
and they think by 2028, it's probably going to be down to about 200. Right. So these malls are just an epidemic. The positive of them is they're all located in your primary retail trade corridor. They all have excellent locations, right? And that's consistent of whether you're in, Omaha, Nebraska, or Logan, Utah, or Milwaukee, which is where we're doing all these kinds of projects. By and large, where we're seeing these projects have success is you're bringing in a new anchor retailer, right? Or some significant, junior box space, because ultimately that's what drives the activity on all these pad sites. What's really fortunate is, to a degree, and we're trying to make sure that stays, is you do have a couple really good anchor retailers already around here. You have Target, you have a new Costco across the street.
Yeah.
Those drive a lot of folks into these areas. But, and each mall is unique in this sense. You've got a significant amount of this thing that's kind of tucked back, right?
Well, sorry, I didn't mean to cut, but what I was trying to get at is, I think, because I'm 100% on what Mr. Petronella said, but I think to make us feel even better, it is key. My question, the reason why I asked you if you did them like this, I would love, I need to see the ones you have done, and not when you first started. We went through this the first time with this mall. I want to see what they look like now. Is that possible?
Yeah, I got
I'm
a
not
great-
forced. I'm not. I would like to see what they look like now. So I think that if we see what they look like now, we'll see what they turned out. Because he's right. We know what's going to happen. We already got 100 chicken restaurants, and we're going to get 5 more chicken restaurants, a couple more. It's all the same. We don't want that. It's been said, the town, we're on that. We want something finally, just once, we want something nice that you can take your family out to eat, that you actually have to dress up possibly. I'm just saying, we don't have that here. We don't have that nightlife. We don't have it. We just have restaurants that are just normal. So I know what Mr. Petronella is saying. I know what you're saying. You don't know exactly what exactly is going to come in. But hey, you got 6 or 7 done already, so you should know what.
Yeah, we can send you examples.
What's
of
in
what
them
those look
right
like.
now, so that we can actually see. So I would love that for you to give that to staff, and then I would love staff to make sure each one of us get them, so we can actually see how they turned out. We saw pictures of them all before, and it looked nice, and
Looks okay.
here we are. You follow what I'm saying?
absolutely.
So I believe what you're saying, but you can't predict what's going to go in there, and they should be, he's right, they should be, maybe you should even look at them malls yourself too and say, all right, and hear what we're saying, because this is what the people want. We're trying to help you, basically.
Hey, help me help you, right?
You
Come on.
follow what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You listen to what we're trying to tell you, what the people want. You should go back and figure out this is what these people want. If we can make this work, I understand the park. No, you're not making money, so why would you put a park in? I get that. You got to make money to put up nice stuff, but you can do it.
Yeah.
You can do it. Hear what the people here want. You won't have a big fight. Right now, dude, when they heard, I'll tell you right now, I wasn't here at the last meeting, but I saw the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
When they heard 700 apartments,
Listen, we're moving past the 700. We shouldn't have
past
done that.
Okay, so we're
Okay.
right, and we straightened it out, and I'm so glad we did that. But now we really would. I personally would really like to see your other projects.
Yeah,
that would
well-
be key. And I can't. After I see them, then I could come back with more. But right now, it's the same. You know,
Yeah.
it's sales.
I think, Vinny, yeah, we can send you a lot of great projects that we've done, right? That's more credible than anything, right? To just say, hey, here's what we've done in the past. Here's what we want to do here. You know, I hope you like it. But I think I think it's going to be a lot. I think it's going to be consistent with what you guys want to see. I do.
Georgie,
have an idea.
you're all set? I just have one question, and just so that we can clarify this a little bit. I know we're looking at, as a presentation, and this is basically their presentation to us for our next step. Would it be better for the applicant not to put a designation on lots as to saying lot 1 is restaurant, lot 2 is bank, lot 3 is restaurant? Would it just be, and I'm referring to you as town expert here, that
put a lot of
maybe
pressure on
when
me.
we're looking at this and seeing restaurant, commercial, restaurant, it just seems like
Right.
maybe
so,
not designating it, just saying we're going to subdivide, and then maybe somebody will come along and say, let's merge 2 of these subdivided lots and make a really nice restaurant banquet facility. So if your daughter decides to get married, you can go there
I
and,
can take my tie out for once.
yeah, you take your tie out and go there. I mean, and that would then allow them,
Just to specify I know your questions to Georgina, and Georgina, you can respond. We are not designating any specific uses. This legend,
I'm just.
yes, I think you're totally right. But I do want to make it clear that we are not.
let me clarify.
Yes.
Sure.
So with the SDD reg, you do bring up a very valid point, which is worth considering here in this case. So with the SDD reg, first step is the zone change, well, the informal, should I say, then the formal public hearing for the zone change. Then they submit a fully detailed site plan for the commission to review, depending on that master plan approval. Blessing in a sense. There is a part that I'm thinking here might come into play if they designate the specific lots, what they're going to be. There is that one section about having substantial changes to the approved master plan. And if there are substantial changes, then it requires a special permit, which requires a public hearing. So in a way, ultimately, it is up to Woodsonia and how they would like to do the specifics in terms of the master plan, but I think for right now, this was just their proposal, what they're
Right,
thinking
and
of. Nothing's been set in stone, but you do bring up a good point if down the road, if they do have to change one of those designations. So, I mean, that would be something else we'd have to dive into in a reg workshop about substantial changes a little bit more.
Right,
But
and I'm just thinking that maybe, only because I just turned 55, all right? You just heard that. Somebody came in and said, hey, I'm going to put this really nice 55-plus development in, and I really would like it near the bank area, which is in the southern east corner. By designating that only as commercial, it would then create another issue for you guys to come back and do a whole master plan again.
So that's kind of like the loophole there. Like they're presenting an informal master plan.
I know, but
yeah,
I'm trying to think ahead because, yes, this is a commercial area that's being redeveloped, but we got an aging population that they're looking for, smaller homes. And so I'm just, and you don't want to have to jump in your car and drive. And some people shouldn't be driving. A lot of people shouldn't be driving. But if, there was an opportunity for a small community of 55 plus where they could walk to their grocery store and that, into a nice restaurant where you can put your tie on, Vinny, that would be wonderful. So I'm just throwing things out.
I think you're absolutely right, though, Linda. We'll make sure when we actually make our submittal, we'll make sure it's clear that we are not designating specific uses within some of those lots. I think it's a great idea.
No, I'm just trying to think a little bit more globally as opposed to this, so that, yes.
I think I can also help here. So this is the informal. They're not bound to anything yet.
I'm just trying to think a little bit more globally.
I'm just laying the lay of the land out for everybody else. So the SDD reg process, brand new waters, we're navigating it with 2 applications, 2 developers. So with the mall, since this is just like the informal discussion, not necessarily the formal blessing of the master plan from what I can tell in our written procedures, that will come next with the zone change. So I'd say at this point in time, they still retain that flexibility. Yeah, but it's a good thought to put forward for Woodsonia for when they are ready with their formal master plan and their zone change. So it is a good point to bring up in a planning opinion.
Yeah,
just
throwing
for the
things on the wall,
You never know what'll stick.
This is right, and this is the place to think outside of the box, because when you come, it's kind of, this is the box, and we're gonna go, yeah, okay, maybe, whatever.
Yeah.
So just a little bit, and your poor engineer is like, oh no.
He's making all kinds of notes over here.
It's okay, okay.
I have a question for
Sure.
staff. So what you were just explaining, if they come back on the public hearing, it's for the zone change.
Right.
So it's not going to, even in that, it's not going to require what the use is, what's going to be there. It's not, they don't, it's just the zone change.
If you read the regulation, the next section in that, the zone change includes the proposed master plan. The master plan has to be of sufficient scale and include the detail requirement under 561A. So they do have to bring you the full master plan with the zone change.
Different than a site plan.
Yes, they're different. So this is the same document they submitted with their zone change application. So it does, I'll refer to the applicant on this one, but I believe this is their master plan that they're going to go forward with. But right now we're at the informal stage, right? So the next meeting, when we officially open the public hearing for the actual zone change, is the zone change plus the actual master plan. So you will see this same exact document again, unless they've made changes between now and then.
When you say same exact document, you mean this?
Yes, that's the master plan.
And also part of the master plan is in the narrative too. Lori Whitten mentioned at the last meeting, developers utilizing the SDD procedure can propose their own alternative regulations to make this type of development work. So that's what's in the narrative. It's in a separate document, so just wanted to make that clear. And probably that will be revised a little bit as well.
Okay. No, I'm just throwing things out because this is a place where we can throw things out, and you never know.
Madam Chair?
Go ahead.
So when the application comes for the zone change in the SDD, the requirement is also that they provide elevations for the buildings. So we have however many, 11 buildings here. So we're going to see basically elevation plans for all the buildings, and then the requirement is that was it 20%? If it changes by more than 20%, or it's not supposed to change by more than 20%. What this shows now it's so vague, there's no way to measure that. So this is
Well, let me
very, very
explain.
preliminary.
There's two different ways the applicant can proceed. In this case right now, with what they submitted, it does not include the actual detailed site plan. So in that SDD reg, they have a choice with the zone change in the master plan where it may be submitted. And when I talk about it, it's the full detailed site plan, including elevations, architecturals, grading, every single site-specific detail you are hoping to see in the future. So they can proceed with the zone change and master plan and already have that full-scale detailed site plan, right? Or they can come back and do the site plan after, which I believe that is the path this applicant is doing at this point in time, since they are still waiting on agreements to be signed. So the way it reads under our new section, if the zone change application and the master plan are submitted without the site plan application, then the master plan approval is valid for 5 years and shall expire along with the SDD zone designation. If the site plan is not submitted within those 5 years and approved within the statutory timing allowed for site plans, under extenuating circumstances, an additional 5-year extension may be granted in 1-year increments. So there's two different paths that we lay out for the developers, which kind of gives the point behind the SDD reg for them, like what Evan said, making their own zoning table essentially provides them that flexibility. So they have flexibility with designing their site plan and their steps and how they approach the commission, and it gives them flexibility for how they want to move forward.
I understand that. What I said was when they submit for the SDD and the master plan, if that gets approved, they're really controlled by not modifying it by more than that 20% or whatever, so that they're kind of held to a certain standard from that. And this is not filing site plans and so forth, but this is just filing, the master plan.
Yeah, that's the next one. There's so many steps in this reg, but essentially, yeah, it's 20% for minor changes in use that don't increase the size of the use.
But the master plan, I wouldn't expect them to come in with a full site plan.
Every developer is different. These guys in this situation are doing it this way. That works for them. It doesn't mean a different developer is going to have everything ready for you for the zone change. But every development's different, and that's just the benefit behind the new SDD reg, I'd say.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, this, probably something more for the staff than you guys, but from the chair, through the chair to the staff. Are we giving the fire services and the school systems a heads up of, what's going on this particular marketplace? Because it could be a huge impact to schools, okay? A lot of people, children move in. And also the fire service needs to be prepared to handle these extra buildings that are gonna be there. So I know we always do that when we go through our normal review process.
Yeah, so-
It might be a good idea to make sure they understand what's happening here.
Well,
They might be able to get comments in.
Right. So the fire marshal is aware. We've already had an ART with the applicant. That was our first ART back in last year. So the fire marshal is well aware. Engineering is aware. Traffic is aware. Board of Education, I do not know. I'd have to defer to the director of planning on that one. But yeah, then when they make their formal submission, we always give a physical copy to the fire marshal when we get the application in office.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, anyone else? No? Go ahead, Christian.
Yeah, so, I mean, I do second Commissioner Petronella in terms of concern about the overall site layout and design and the lack of mixed-use integration. I would like to see that. That would be nice to see. And maybe even potential opportunity, maybe as you're proposing uses. I mean, it's not uncommon to see sometimes with apartment buildings that have commercial uses underneath them. This doesn't seem to lend any possibility to that. Again, it's all residential here, commercial here. Relatively close distance, but less intermingling. So just hold that in mind. I know it's not depicted on here, and you're kind of implying it, but definitely something speaking for myself, but I think everybody here would agree, we'd all like to see a very thorough sidewalk network throughout the entire development. But what I want to focus on, slightly more specific, is the residential lots you have. And I'm wondering where you came from in that placement, because, I mean, besides just being, I mean, maybe you were just going for maximum distance and segregation from the commercial district, but you put it right up to the highway next to state property that you can't even add any more buffering to, which has awful buffering, especially now as the leaves are falling. I mean, and yeah, maybe you could try to work with the state to get more buffering alongside the highway, but that strikes me as a particularly bad location for residential. And I'm wondering why you didn't use the southern part of the property. If you were to flip like 10 and 11, why not residential on the south side, where it's a lot quieter, where you got a lot of you get some protected green space from the wetlands. You know, it's not necessarily going to be, you know, recreation area, of course. But contrast that with Interstate 91 outside your window. Talk to me about that.
I'll talk to you about that. So I think this, two parts. I think it goes back to one, we're not starting from a blank slate, right? Where there are overarching agreements. There's an anchor retailer that's never going to let us do retail or residential in line with them or in front of their store, right? So that's one reason why we're placing it where we are. I actually disagree to a degree that it's not a good site for residential, because we've done residential in these types of projects that are no different. They're adjacent to an interstate or a highway. It just hasn't been a deterrent to folks living there. I think it's more complementary to being.
There's a housing shortage. I mean, people,
Yeah.
you know, people got to live someplace, and you know, you often don't get the choice. Hey, do I get to live, you know, alongside the highway, or do I live in, you know, in the quieter, you know, a couple thousand feet away in the nicer.
But I think folks have their preference, right? You know, some want to live where it's real quiet.
I mean,
right?
and
Others
to be
want to
clear,
live within a
I'm not
commercial
talking
district.
about like quiet, like out in farmlands or out in the woods. I mean, this is very obviously, we're not talking that. We're talking right in the hustle and bustle. But again, I think there's a big difference between the hustle and bustle of being adjacent to the highway, major highway, and potential placement closer to freshwater brook.
Yeah, I think it goes back to,
closer
we don't have approval to put it out there by some of the parties, right? So I can't. We think it makes the most sense to put it on that.
You got no flexibility.
No.
So what you're saying is your hands are tied in terms of this is the only place that you could put residential.
Yeah.
Again, I'm not holding you to it, but earlier presentations, the plans were slightly shifted, so residential was like somewhere in between 10 and 11 on the southeast corner, so that got shot down?
Yeah, and one of the contributing factors to that, I mean, this all kind of has a ripple effect, right? I'm kind of letting you know how the sausage is made, right? So if you look before, our retail lineup that we had on lot 10 was quite a bit further to the, would that be the west, closer to freshwater? That was a piece that, yep, right there. That was one that was an immediate, absolutely not. You're not going to do this, from one of the approving parties. Don't mention any of the approving parties, but one of the approving parties, it was just a flat out no. You know, we'll stay the way that we currently are. We understand the mall's dying, but the store's profitable. We're doing good. We're not going to have you mess with us, which is fine, right? Totally understand that. So I think this plan, as we've, you know, worked through this for another year and a half, right, as to what we can actually get approved and is market driven. So two pieces of that is one, you know, we've got an area that's dedicated as residential that I think makes the most sense. And then two, we'd never be able to get like a major, you know, retail user to go on the back end of a site with no visibility to any frontage road. It'd never happen, right? Like we'd never be able to get a Target, by example, to go on lot 11 with.
Right along the highway, though, you got signage. There already is Enfield Square Mall signage on the highway.
Yeah. It's pretty weak. So
I mean, that's our sign regulation.
But I just want to be realistic too on what we can and can't do. So it kind of goes back to, if we were working from a blank slate, maybe, right? We might look at this differently, but it's kind of working within the confines of what we can actually do.
So you guys, you feel like you guys are stuck too in terms of, so the commercial, the large commercial in the middle. So you're seeing like there's kind of like no way around that sea of asphalt from the existing parking lot all the way south, kind of. Because I know in your original plans you tried to break it up, but.
Well, I wouldn't say it's a sea of asphalt. I mean, a couple things. It's going to be, it's going to have some great island for landscaping. It is going to be a parking lot, right? But right now we are shooting to have a 3-to-1, 3 parking spaces per 1,000. That is like bare minimum for most of these national retailers to have in order for them to come to your site. So, and it's also, that's part of the covenants of the mall, is that we got to provide that for retail and commercial space. So in order to hit that, we got to make sure that we have that. But pushing that box past the frontage of the northern retailer is not going to be supported. So hopefully that makes sense. But we are gonna.
So you're saying so basically what you're showing as lot 10, you're saying, as far as you guys are concerned, basically locked in that exact location to be lined up with the existing
Yeah.
structure.
Yeah.
And then really the only place available to put residential is
On that side. Yeah. And part of it's too just lining up drive aisles. That's kind of a key piece throughout this site.
I know this one's kind of going to be a stretch because I know it's right at the cusp of the bounds of your development. The existing, and I know you're going to say there's no plans to modify any of the entrances on the north end. So there's two entrances on the north end. So I'm talking the north east one. Right now, there's a mobile gas station there on
Right
Elm
over
Street.
here?
Next one, to the right.
This one?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So that intersection, you come in off Elm Street, and then it's like it is a crazy 4-way stop that's got half the intersections like askew. Again, like I can tell from here, it's outside of your scope. You're not trying to do anything. Doing any potential corrections would put you in the bounds of the existing facility. Is there anything you could work with in terms of improving site navigation? Because that's not a great setup now, and there's not a ton of.
I think that would be the state, and this is out of his.
No, it's well, I'm not talking from route to, not from Elm Street, but onto the mall property.
Oh, okay.
Within here?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so right where your mouse is. So if you draw a big circle right there, that's kind of a, well, yeah, that intersection. It's an intersection. It's hard to tell because it kind of.
Are you talking about right here?
Yes. Yes. It's kind of like almost like two intersections, kind of combined into one.
Mm-hmm. So, are you talking about basically lining up this parking lot with this entrance here?
Possibly. I mean, roundabouts, something.
Definitely won't be a roundabout, but we've talked to, this is where it gets interesting, is that Anchor Retailer doesn't own their lot. It's owned by another landowner. So yeah, they have a ground lease. So they're the leasehold interest, and then there's a underlying fee simple owner that Namdar sold to. So, and we just haven't made a lot of progress with those discussions. So we're kind of, be totally frank, we're kind of just, you just let some things lie and not poke. So that's what our decision has been right there, is that there's not a real receptive party. So that's not property that we're acquiring. And we haven't got a lot of traction with making that adjustment.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough because something we look at is internal site navigation, and that's right at the entrance of your site, and it's tough. It's not going to make for a pleasant experience for people going onto your site, especially.
But again, he doesn't own it, so there's nothing he can do with it. Okay, John?
Yeah, Lot 10, now, that's going to be one big box, retailer
This
user?
is purely just the buildable envelope at this point. So,
Okay.
I mean, it could end up being 8 users, right? A junior box lineup, it could end up being 1 user. But this is just the buildable footprint within that. Kind of the same way as like those outlots. Those could end up being multi-tenant buildings, right? Or they could be a single tenant.
And to Commissioner D'Antonio's point, you know, the major retail box unit there, whether it's 1 unit or 5 or 8, absolutely no frontage, no view, no exposure from any of the streets. I find that very odd. They're just in the middle of everything with, you know, no exposure. So, but
They got pretty good frontage to freshwater. I think that'll be a pretty marketable site.
Yeah, that's, you know, that's for them to decide, I guess. So another question, just to the right of that, on the, it would be the southeast corner, that small little purple building, and adjacent to it is that rectangular, it's got it's a white rectangular. What are those two buildings?
These are
Right
not.
there.
Yeah, these are not. Are you talking about these two pieces?
Yeah, those
right
two
here?
buildings, or whatever they are.
Showed a C-store there. So it was more detailed than it needed to be, but there was a schematic C-store just shown on that lot.
Yeah, because it doesn't, it's part, I guess it's part of what, Lot 10?
Yeah.
Is that what that is?
This is something that we'll update to be more consistent with what you're seeing Lot 9, of more just a box that we'll show.
Okay. Is there any, as far as maintenance of the facility, the roadway, the infrastructure, this and that, is there any maintenance facilities that you're going to be proposing for, you know, for the maintenance of these grounds, or everything's going to be brought in from
Third party.
third-party off-site contractors and
Yep.
so forth?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Frank?
Yeah, it's safe to say with this conceptual pre-application and everything is moving here. Is it safe to say that when all said and done, there's going to be more green space after you complete this project than there is now? I mean, by looking at this, there is, but is
Than
this?
today?
Yeah, than right now.
Oh, gosh, yeah. I mean, it's not even, I mean, we're,
Because I think that's a piece that people are talking about is green space.
Yeah.
Now there's none,
today there's
basically.
none.
But so are you, and I know we can't go directly by this, but I see a lot of green.
There's a lot of green, and it can get lost in a big site plan like this, especially when you have a primary parking field. I mean, if you look at Target's, guys, I mean, it's no different. You look across the street with Costco, right, and Home Depot and Dick's and those types of users, it's going to be a parking field,
Right.
But it's going to be a parking field that has heavily landscaped medians. It's going to look.
So the answer is yes, there will be more green than there is now.
100%.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Rob? You?
No, I'm good for right now.
Joe?
Vinny took most of my thunder before,
All right.
but no, I'm good.
All right. All right, anything else you'd like to tell us? I mean, we've given you a lot of our input and ideas, so.
No, I think everything that you guys are telling us is reasonable, right? And I get it. So there is going to be a level of trust that, which I know, I mean, we're not located in Connecticut, that you're just going to have to take with us, right? That we're going to do what we say we're going to do. But, you know, I think we've got a great track record of doing that. As long as we don't have these meetings past 10, I think things will go smooth.
You have to be in bed by 9.
Exactly.
I get it. I
As long
get
as we
it.
know the parameters of what that looks like, I think we'll get along. But no, it will take a little bit of trust, but I think we've got a great project here. I
Okay,
really do.
And before you leave, I just have one question. What is this?
I'll let the applicant speak to that.
Yeah, we thought it'd be helpful to show you like, hey, here's a multifamily project that we've built, right? That fits within the buildable envelope on lot 11, right?
Okay.
So I wanted to make it super clear, hey, we're not gonna build these big squares, right? So our intent was to show you, hey, here's a real plan. This is the project I just did in Cache Valley, Utah, right? It was a Namdar mall that we bought, we tore down, we did a new Target. We did 312 multifamily units that we're breaking ground on the multifamily here in about 60 days. But this is a CD set from that. I thought it'd be helpful to just show you, hey, here's what could fit within this project. Here's what 465 units would actually look like. Because again, 465 units is not going to look like a footprint like that at all, right? It's going to have a lot of amenity space. That one I think showed pickleball courts, pool, dog park, playground. It's going to have all the amenities that you would want if you're going to live in a residential community. So that was kind of our intent.
Okay, no, we got nothing. All we got was this with no explanation. And so I'm like, what is this?
I don't want you to tell me who you think. So yeah, that was the intent, was to just kind of give you a flavor of
Okay.
what that might look like.
All right, sure, go ahead.
Just getting back to an area of the first line of questioning I had. Did you purchase this property yet?
No, not
Okay.
yet. I need to have my entitlements, plating, everything through before we're gonna close.
Okay, so, and in your agreements with state and local officials or entities, is there a performance clause where you have to do certain things at certain times?
I think that's outside of our purview.
Yes, to answer your question,
Is it outside of our purview?
Yes.
but yes,
But yes.
so.
Okay, so just to continue on this, so there's, right now, you're really the only player here. Because you've got the agreements with the town and the state.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want you guys
There's
to
not a
feel
line of
like
people
it's-
knocking down the
yeah.
door to come do this.
Yeah, I don't want you to feel like it's this guy or nothing, but yeah, we are in a position where, I mean, the town has been an excellent partner.
So if- in other words, if you went away, everything would have to be renegotiated with somebody else.
Right.
Thank you.
Okay. Any- All set?
I do have one.
Oh, okay, one more.
Sorry, I do have one question. Adding these 465 residential units on top of everything else, how is that gonna affect the sewer infrastructures and stuff like that that are already existing in that area?
That will be addressed during the site plan reviews.
Okay, great answer.
All right. Georgie, you want to add anything?
Nope, just you'll get a lot more detail and everything when we get further down the road. This is step one in a multi-step process. And we'll be in touch with the applicant every step of the way, and we'll see what happens next for the zone change public hearing. And that's about it.
Okay. Unless you guys want to add anything? No? All
Thank
right.
you.
Well, thank you. And it's not 9 o'clock yet.
All right.
So you're good. Thank you.
Still make it home and see the Philly game.
Why?
Okay. All right, we got a proposed meeting schedule for 2026, and y'all have got to review it, yes?
Yep.
Any concerns or questions? If not, all those in favor of accepting it? So, yep, we're all good with that. All right. Commissioners' correspondence. Anyone? Christian, you got anything for me?
The Agriculture Commission was just curious about an update to our zoning regulations. I told them we've not really touched on the agriculture part just yet. We're still
Right.
waiting on the draft for the agriculture section.
Mhm.
Planning a new section or subsection.
Okay.
But they're eager to see that. And I told them, I'll let them know. I don't know. Maybe if we can give them an update.
I can clarify. Yeah, so they did give us a draft. The other assistant town planner, Stephen Heine, has been working with them in the backgrounds. So we do have their first draft version of farming regs. We're just not at the farming section yet. What's happening now is the background nitty gritty in the weeds work by staff. So we've been meeting weekly for a couple hours to do literally sentence by sentence by sentence. So we are probably a quarter-ish of the way through. It's just going to take some time, just making sure that we've covered all our legal entities and bases and that everything is addressed and that we have everybody's comments. So it's a lot of reviewing, pausing, going back, double-checking, verifying, going back, double-checking. So it's just going to be a little bit. But yeah, we do have the agricultural regs, and we are hoping to do them soon. I just don't have an exact time frame just yet.
I feel like that's probably gonna be significant enough where maybe
Is your mic on?
we may. Oh, good call. We may. I think that might be significant enough. I mean, it's from what I've seen, it's like 6-8 pages or so. Maybe it will end up being longer or shorter. But I think maybe like do you guys see workshop in the future for?
I can't tell you as of now. We're still doing the nitty gritty and the weeds, which has to be done first.
Right, of course.
Anybody else? I do. I want to know what's going on over here at Kia. I mean, they seem to be all the way up to the building on the other people's property.
So
Help me out.
Kia accidentally jumped the gun a little bit in the post-approval process. They kind of started with their demo and their repaving and whatnot. We just got their final plans this week. They got their bond estimates today. Hopefully they'll submit their bonds tomorrow so we can do a formal pre-construction meeting. But they have kind of halted in that retrospect and put up silt fencing. But that's where we are right now. So we'll see what comes in tomorrow. But they are kind of in this
So
awkward period.
They're not doing anything.
They shouldn't be. As from what I have been told since yesterday, it's all supposed to have stopped since then. Granted, I have not gone out to check, but they are doing the proper post-approval stuff now, and we're waiting on their bond submissions.
Okay, so tomorrow morning when I walk,
Let me know.
walk over here behind the building, they won't be out there. Okay,
Let me know.
all right. Yes.
Oh, go ahead.
Thank you. There's nothing going on there.
That's what they've
I
told me.
made sure of that today, and right now, from what they told me is they were supposed to be taking care of this.
Yep.
Like
That's
right
what they
away.
have told me.
Because I
so-
did stop there by the, I've been there.
Oh, good.
Let's just say.
I'm not the
And
only,
he's on it. It's, I think it's good.
okay,
Okay?
all right, thank you. All right,
I thought they were leaving existing landscaping up as a buffer to the residential section. I'm misremembering it wrong because you can see straight through. I feel
I
like
know.
the house behind it is now its
that's
they're
why
frontage
I'm
doing-
on-
asking.
They have the new landscaping included too. I can't remember the details. I'd have to look at everything all over again.
I remember I thought they pushed pretty hard to try to keep the existing landscaping and even use that as an excuse to say we don't want to put sidewalks up because there's already a strong buffer there. Mm-hmm. And they paved all the way down.
Yeah, so,
But I mean I gotta double check on the plans, but
okay.
So, what, the bushes weren't supposed to go down, that's why I stopped. They weren't really trees. They were vines. And if I'm not mistaken, I saw the plans yesterday, visually saw them. There's all new plantings going up where they weren't supposed to take it down. When they first came to us, there was trees there, but they weren't trees. They weren't trees, they were overgrown vines in the back corner. So if I'm not mistaken, when I saw the plans that he had, there were a whole bunch of arborvitaes across the back, so you won't be able to see through.
okay.
Okay.
Nice.
And I visually
that's
see
good.
that.
That's a relief to hear. I mean,
Yeah, no, that's a fact. I
hear-
saw that on,
Yeah, I second your concern. So
Yeah.
thank you for bringing it up.
Through the chair staff.
Sure.
A couple months ago, we had a nice presentation with the future developers at probably around 600 Enfield Street near the plaza where the old gas station was, and we were getting complaints about the tanks out front. And they came in and gave us an update. So they since moved the tanks to the side, but I haven't seen any other activity. Yeah, the car wash, the
Car
convenience
wash, yes.
store.
I know which one.
Yeah.
I believe we're waiting on bond submissions.
Okay.
Yeah, we finally got their final plans, which were signed, which took a while. They got their OSTA approval.
Oh, good.
Yeah, so now they're working on the next step for the financing, and we're just waiting on bond submissions, I believe. I don't have the exact up-to-date thing. I'd have to check with the zoning officer.
What,
but I believe
progress
it's
is being
bonds.
made?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Okay, great.
Okay. Ken?
Oh, yeah, just to reiterate, I noticed there was no work going on yesterday because I go to the food shelf, work at the food shelf on Wednesdays. There was nothing going on when I was over there. But I remember, I thought it was a hedge or something that was there when we did the zoning review on that plan. It seemed like, yeah, the hedge stays or something. I seem to remember something like that. Maybe it ended up being vines, I don't know. But, yeah, okay.
I don't remember a fence going up on the eastern side of it in the back.
Yeah.
Was that part of the initial
I think
proposal?
yes.
Yes.
I didn't remember. I seen the fence. It looks nice.
That's on the original plan.
That looks nice.
That's on the original
Yeah,
plan.
okay.
But with that being said, okay.
Yeah, all set?
all right.
Okay, all right.
I got one more thing, please. I'm sorry. It is actually what Mrs. Turner said. I noticed also what is going on. No, I'm serious.
I'll clarify.
The buffer's
Yes.
gone. They don't even have a buffer. The trees, they're staying back about 20 feet. I took a little drive back there, and they're going all the way around. Who let them do that?
So let me clarify.
How'd that happen?
Anybody is allowed to clear timber by right. We don't regulate it. If they want to clear the land, they can. The buffers come into play when they propose new development. So if they plan to do an application for anything, we haven't gotten anything as of this date, so our department has no knowledge of what they're planning on doing, just that they're cutting down trees. But if they do want to come in for a formal application, then of course, all the landscaping requirements come into play and et cetera.
But what happens if they take down all the trees
They'll have
before
to
they come in
replant
here?
them. They will have to satisfy the buffer requirements unless the commission grants them waivers or reductions.
It's really open. It's really open. Okay. I just noticed it, and I didn't see any of that on, I
Yeah.
didn't see anything going on. I'm
Oh.
wondering what's going on.
I always encourage the public to call our department
Yeah.
if you have a question about a property, some activity that's going on. In most cases, we are aware of it. There are very rare situations where an activity might occur where we're not made aware of. In this case, the tree clearing was brought to our attention probably, I don't want to give an exact date, maybe 2 weeks
2
ago
weeks
or
ago?
so about. Yeah, it's
Probably.
fairly
That's when it
recent.
started.
But there's nothing that we have in our regulations for clearing of land unless it involved a wetland or a conservation easement, something along those lines. But if you had a vacant property and you wanted to clear it or log it and you don't have those restrictions, then you are able to do so. So right now, from what it looks like, is they're clearing, making some open space, but we cannot speculate what they're going to do from a staff and commission perspective until they actually make formal application.
Can't you see though on plans if that's wetlands where they're clearing?
There are no wetlands there.
There is none.
No,
Okay, I
there's-
didn't look, that's why I'm asking
Yeah,
you.
so there's, on the other side of the parcel, there's a couple of escarpments, but from what I understand, they're not going over there. Granted, we haven't had any conversations with the property owner. I don't know who the contractor is who's doing the tree removal, but to this day, we don't have anything to go off of. So if they start digging into the ground, then we will look at it more closely because excavation comes into play and whatnot. But as of now, it's just tree clearing.
All right, yes.
Yeah, to follow up on that, is there any requirement for restoration? I mean, they're cutting down trees, but they're also, I think they're removing stumps, so it's...
Only if there was wetlands or conservation easements.
So that they don't have to, there's no concern about erosion?
If they get into the terrace escarpments, then yes, we look at it from a wetlands violation
Some
standpoint.
slopes down there, it's just going to be left open for just, I guess they're going to let natural vegetation come back in and grow, but...
Well, again,
But there's
I
no
can't.
requirement?
We can't speculate because I haven't seen a plan. We don't know what they're doing. But if there were actual wetland soils, or if there's, I can't remember the exact percentage. I believe from my old memory of doing wetlands, it was terrace escarpments in excess of 20% for slopes, which I'd have to look at the topography and do the math there. I don't believe the slopes are about 20% in that area, but we do watch it on the other side where there are steeper slopes and whatnot. But removing stumps they can do. If they start doing excavation, which is clearly outlined in our regulations, then that would be a violation. They'd have to come in for commission approval to do excavation to a certain amount of cubic yards, of course. But as of now, there's no violation present, and we're just continuing to monitor and see what they want to do.
Okay, thank you.
Director of Planning report.
Well, I guess that's me. Lori's on vacation. She says hi, and that's it.
Okay, no administrative approvals.
None to report.
Applications to be received. Obviously, we have none.
No applications being received. We're a little light currently. I think we might have a couple of bond releases next meeting, but nothing's been set in stone yet. Right now, you're just looking at the mall for the next meeting and anybody else who comes in between now and then.
Okay. We have no unresolved opportunities or issues, no executive session. Walter?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, so we are done.
8:29 p.m.
Two.
Every time.